lot of success is action. It's 10% saying it, 90% you actually have to go do it and at least try and practice trying and be okay with failing sometimes. Don't accept failure, but when you fail, it's okay. Sometimes that helps you actually. Maybe, God doesn't allow certain things to unfold for a reason, but I would say definitely you have to take steps. You have to move forward. And if you do that, you'll be successful in whatever it is.
Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Brand Power Analysis. Today we have
George Asafo Adjei, New York, ex-New York Giant.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so I'm actually graduated from the University of Kentucky. I played 4 years there. I was a starter at right tackle. Got drafted by the New York Giants in 2019. And, before that, in high school, I was a 2-year starter. And I started playing football actually in middle school. But why I'm taking it back there is that's when I learned, about football. That's when I actually fell in love with football and learned. I didn't know anything about football prior to that. I was a big WWF guy. I mean, you would catch me on YouTube watching WWF and all that stuff. And then my friends were like, oh, you should come play football, da-da-da. And first day there, knocked someone's helmet off and a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So I was like, all right, maybe this might be it. Started taking it more seriously in high school, but I think that stage of my life is where it's the most important. That's where it shapes you for the rest of your career, whether you want to play or not. And as a man, that's where you develop habits. So yeah, I'll start off with that.
No, that's awesome. How did that when you went to college, tell me a little bit about your college journey and how it led you to the NFL and your experiences on what you really learned in college that really helped mold you while you were playing the game.
Right. So college it's a whole nother beast than high school. It's a lot more demanding in all aspects mentally, as far as having to handle going from training right to classes, having the normal student can be like, oh, I'm not feeling it today. When you're an athlete, you have to go to all the classes, there is none of that. So it's a lot mentally, and then having to go from training to workouts to practice, then taking the extra step mentally to stay and do extra, stretches or cold tub, treatments. It's also taxing, it's a whole nother level on your body. Physically, the players are better. Every practice is like a high school game. So, the whole level of intensity increases. And, I think all those things together, it makes you a man, because you have to decide like, wow, this is like my job. This is, even beyond the job, because, you're really putting about 20 hours. I'll take that back. Maybe 16 hours a day, being a student athlete, it's very taxing. It's very different from high school where, football was football. And then other than that, you're just chilling. You're not on the schedule. You're not getting texts about what you're going to have to do next. So, but at the end of the day, all that prepares you for the NFL, because in the NFL, it becomes a real job. You sitting in the 3-hour meeting, the NFL is a whole nother beast from college too, because the NFL, they breathe. It's all football all day, Um, especially being a rookie, it's not easy. You know, you're expected to do all the extra stuff, and then you know they're still treating you like the little boy. So you know you're not really. It's a weird transition, but college definitely prepares you for that. Maybe in a way, college is a little tougher because you have classes versus where when I'm done, I'm going home, no homework, you know, nothing like that. So I would say for anyone young that's going to play college football and has any aspirations, you really need to be serious. You really need to be mentally tough and make sure you really love football and enjoy what you're doing because if you don't, it will not be a great time. And if you do, it's gonna be great. You're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be worth all the hard work, all the dedication, all the coaches yelling at you, all the MFs, all that will be worth it. So, you know, for any young viewers, definitely, if you're gonna make that decision, pray about it. Um, you know, seek your family's advice, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was in college, that was it's, and I kind of say this all the time too. I mean, because you hear a lot of gurus out there say, hey, you don't need to go to college, you know, if you want to be a great entrepreneur or be
Mm-hmm.
successful. But I've seen that college is kind of that stepping stone, kind of like you said, it's really important because they let you kind of, they don't, you don't have that hand holding that you do in high school. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's really a place where they're like, we're here to teach you how to teach yourself. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
that's really what college is. And so when you get out
Right.
to the real world, not not even the, I mean, I bet you the NFL is very much like that too. Like, yeah, you have rules and you have guidelines, but they're like, if you don't follow them, you're cut. You
Yeah,
know, so
exactly. Yeah,
so
cutthroat.
yeah, it's very cutthroat. And so how would you, what did you study in college, and did you feel, did you have like another passion that you kind of fell in love with while you were going to school in college?
Yeah, so I actually graduated from the College of Ag. I was a community leadership and development. I was in that field, and that's what my major was actually. And I loved it. I loved. That's what I actually wanted to do. Like I said, I started football late. You know, I love football, but I don't have that deep root. You know, like
Mhm.
like I'll die for it kind of thing. Never been in it. I think that's a good thing too. When you just being a player, but anyways, graduated with that major, and it helped me because I want to give back to communities.
Mhm.
I want to be. I want to help a lot of the young kids know that there's a lot more to just being an athlete and you know just the stereotypical things. There's a lot more out there. There's a lot of money out there. You know, God is way bigger than football and all this stuff. So I want to give back and show, you know, young kids that there's a lot out there. I want to give back in multiple ways, whether it's eating right or helping businesses get off their feet, helping them do business a different way. Um, I'm also in solar, so I do a lot of things that are, you know, I want to help the world. I believe that's why I'm here. I believe that's why we're all here is to love our neighbor, you know. Obviously, before that, love God with all your heart, but love your neighbor, care for people that don't have anything. And that's literally it. So that's what I'm dedicating my life, you know, to. That's part of the reason I left the NFL was to, you know, pursue that because that's a love I think I believe God put it in me to want to do this in college. I mean, I remember when I was telling my coaches, I'm like, I had a heavy I knew that there were bigger things than even football in the NFL. You know, I love football, but I knew there was greater. So I um I just I followed that and you know, I'm now doing what, you know, I learned in college. I'm putting all those skills that I learned in college to work. the leader of my businesses. I'm having to make decisions not for me or my company, but for people, the betterment of people. So all those things I've definitely learned from UK, the program, in life.
How do you feel? I want to go back to what you kind of said a little bit in the earlier, where we kind of stepped past it, where you were like, having a love for football, um, but it's also important that it doesn't have to be your. You don't have to be. We'll just put numbers to it. You don't have to be 100% passionate in football to be playing football, and that could actually benefit you, because what I've seen,
Hmm.
and and this is very similar in the business world. And they always say, hey, grow your passions, do something that you love. But I think a lot of people don't understand that it doesn't matter how much you love something. You
Right.
still need time off. You still
Right.
need to have your mind somewhere else. I mean, I love football myself. It's one of my favorite passions, and I work with a lot of NFL players. I work with other sports as well, like MLB and stuff like that. But I'm also like, you know I need my time with my family. I need my time
Right.
to eat healthy. My whole thing is I love working out. I love eating right, because it helps with my anxiety. It's
Right.
really, really
Right. Right.
helps with the anxiety. But so why don't you talk a little bit about that? And I think that will lead into our next question, and how you kind of over how you overcame some of those challenges associated with the transition of when you were in the NFL. And if you want to dive a little bit, I mean, you don't have to get too much into the organization, the habits, or anything like that. But if you want to dive into a
Hmm.
little bit about just how you felt like when you were playing, working with the team, and how you did that transition and how you overcame that to kind of do what you're doing now.
Right. So I'll definitely say, first and foremost, me putting my focus and into my new love of doing business, trying to help, people, and being more selfless. It definitely helped me on the field, because once I took my, I'll be honest, in college, I didn't even want to go to the NFL, because the hands that were already out, family telling me, hey, when you sign, I can't wait to get like 30K. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And it was just a very goofy thing to me. And I was just like, I'm not really in love with what comes with all this. But needless to say, I didn't put too much, care, and I actually played better. It was weird. I put my focus on other things that I liked, and my game got way better. My senior year was the best I've ever played football. I was actually going out there with no stresses or anxieties, because I wasn't I finally got out of the mindset that this isn't just it. There's a
Yeah.
lot more. The world is much bigger than me playing right tackle and da da da.
Yeah.
So once I got that, I was playing free. Dominating in games. So it helped me big time. And what I could say with that right then, right, that lesson shaped me, and it's continuing to shape me, because even now in business, I don't just put all my I don't put all my focus in one business. I have several ones that I'm focusing on. Yeah, you have to be very strategic and smart, but I'm seeing that I'm more free to even let other people that are in my business do what they need to do,
Yeah.
instead of me doing everything, because I know how to back off and allow people and to understand and da da da. So I think it was definitely huge, very, very huge. Even going into the NFL, I had the same mindset. I think even that's what helped me get drafted, is finally, once I got out of that and I was playing free, obviously teams saw that, etc. I did well at the combine, but that freedom honestly came from God, like just Jesus Christ, just knowing what I am and who I am. I'm not just a football player.
Yeah.
The world was telling me, you're a football player. no, like, what do you mean you don't want to play football? You know, I'm telling people personal things. They're like, what do you mean? What are you gonna do then? It's like, there's a lot more in the world than, just
and
sport.
I think what's really important behind that, I think there's two things that we can kind of touch on that is one, it's, I mean, I think I think the first one, a way to really make people understand that free feeling of when you're playing is you're not putting too much pressure on yourself. And so I think it goes to show you that, when you see games where, you know, a team's winning by like 25 points and somehow the other team comes back, I think that goes to show you that a lot of that really is mental with the team and they break down. And a lot of that is, yes, I think anyone that plays a game, that the pressures are hard. I don't know how you handled it. I mean, those pressures of knowing that a team scored or this and that. I mean, I play rec games, all the time. And when a team scores on me, and that's only rec, so, and I feel like crap like the rest of the night. So I don't even know how you guys handle it. And, but having that free like feeling of being able to, not say take things so seriously, but I think it's a golden opportunity for college athletes, even high school, even I mean, I've even seen, really good prodigies that are like 13, 14 that are still playing before high school that are like, oh, I just want to play football. I just want to do this. And it's like, well, really think about that other passion that you're working on too, because you're right. And nothing against, players. There are players that play 20 years and most of the time they're quarterbacks if they're lucky, but there is that the average is what, 3 to 4 years anyway. And so know that your leverage that, and you probably saw it very similar to what I'm going to say here is, hey, this isn't going to be my end all be all. This is going to be I'm going to go in here. I'm going to play. I'm going to let the world take me where it takes me. If I play 3 years, if I play 5 years, great. But I'll know when it's ready for me to leave. And at the same time, I need to start thinking about the other stuff I really want to do because there's a whole world ahead of me at that time. And I do think that that's a really good insight for a lot of college athletes, especially with NIL coming out and them starting to really look at sponsorship opportunities and not to take too much advantage of that, but athletes are the next influencers. And there's a really negative mindset around influencers these days because all you really think about is people, posting pictures of them with fancy cars or in their bikini and stuff, when in reality, it's you being able to give your message to the world at a much higher level. And I feel like that you saw that and you're doing it. So I give you kudos. And I think that a lot of other athletes can take really good positive energy from that as they're kind of getting into the game, or even if they're getting close to retirement. And I think another thing you really focused on there was, and we'll lead to the next question with this, was you're on a team and you knew that, hey, it's not just all you, but it's a team effort. And a lot of fans don't see the inner workings of how much team it takes to make a successful game. I mean, at the end of the day, it's entertainment. That's they get money off ticket sales. So it's about winning, but it's also about, hey, you have your position, you have the wide receivers, you have the cornerbacks, you have the coaches, you have the assistant coaches, you have the water boy, you have the you have the people in the stands in the stadium charging for food and paying for people to food to watch the game to keep the fans engaged so you guys have better positivity. So it goes back to that mentality of what you said was very important as you grow your businesses, and we'll get into that here in a second, but understanding that, yes, I know you have multiple businesses, but not doing too much at once, understanding there are certain professions where they do stuff and they're good at it, and that's what they study, that's what they're passionate about. So let them do their job while you can do what you're good at, And I think that's what grows a really successful business is being able to hire people that you trust, but that you also value their understanding of certain things that you may know. I mean, I own an agency myself, and I always hire employees that are better at certain things than me, you know, and I
Right.
let them take free reign. I'm like, hey,
Right.
you come up with something great, then hell yeah, we're gonna go with it, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important lesson for a lot of not just athletes, but athletes in that transition towards coming up with something better that, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but why don't you kind of get into what you're doing now? Like now, after you went to the transition or after you've done all that, what are you really doing? What are your main one or two directions that you're taking with your business?
Right. So the first, actually, right now, I have Groove Club. It's an app that we've been building out for about a year now. Last week is finally when we like actually got done with the whole process. There's still a little bit more additions we'll add on there, but it's actually live in the App Store finally, and it's out. It's called Groove Club, and to keep it short, it's essentially the Amazon of services. So it brings service providers of all kinds and businesses of all kinds right to your home. So whether that's hairstylists, barbers, nannies, tutors, you name it. I mean, you can book all those services to your home. And then why we came up with that is because because of COVID in my area, a lot of these salons closed down, barbershops closed down. So that bridge, which was just going to the salon or whatever, that was, cut off because of lockdowns and all that. So, when things were opening back up, those places closed down permanently because you can't pay rent and not have any service, no revenue. So it's very sad to see, but I plan to help, all businesses transition to this model because at the end of the day, people want convenience. I mean, if you're a family, why not book a cleaner and somebody to tutor, the boys real quick, conveniently like that on one app? We're in that time, so there should be that platform that does that and that hosts all services. So that's the avenue we took with the Groove Club. And then I also am a part owner of Samaritan Solar, and we do residential and commercial solar. Throughout the United States. So that's basically where my two focuses are, but there's a lot more in the pipeline.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, like they always say, you have to have multiple streams of income coming in. So there's nothing wrong. And I think it sounds like you kind of got it down in knowing, hey, I'm either investing in this and I'm part owners and they're doing a lot of the work, or so I could focus a lot more time on this business or things of that nature. But one thing I really want to get into is because you hit something that not just for athletes, but for a lot of business owners as well. And since you kind of work with business owners, this could be kind of a nice topic to talk about. Is you were like, hey, we developed this app. It finally went live. It took about 2 years. So a lot of people understand when you develop an app, and you can tell me a little bit about your journey with it, but there's phases that go out. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of prospects be like, oh, I need an app. I need it in like a month or 2 months. And it's like, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Yeah. Or you have to go phases and then you have to do beta tests. And why don't you talk to me a little bit about, and you don't have to go too deep into this, but just so people understand some of the hard work that went behind developing your Groove, the business and the app, like the brainstorming and the discovery that went around developing this app.
Right. And I'll even start off by saying I'm somebody that tries to be way, way, way ahead of the game. And I still was behind the ball when it came to app development. Yeah. I gave them everything they needed, but what I didn't see is these coders see one task at a time. They don't even, you could tell them all this stuff, but they only see what they need to do. So a lot of it is, it's a lot of patient work, a lot of patient work. Like you said, it happens in phases. So in the first phase, it'll probably be like 10 things, and you're like, we need to speed this up, you know? And then some of the issues that we had a lot was if Apple has an update, we have to wait for Apple's update to finish before we can then push new items onto the app. And then if we don't make that, I remember we had a 6-week delay one time. So it's a lot of patience in this, a lot of phase work. These developers are also working on other people's apps. So you also have to make sure you're meeting on their schedule and that the time works. And also it's a lot of legal work, a lot of having protections, whether it's trademarks or patents. You also have to, ours is an international company, so we're in all the countries, and we had to get each and every country's approval, wait a couple months for that, and then also, you know, finally get the trademark, get the protection there. And then even after you get that protection, it still takes another 3 months before they actually, it's like, all right, you're good. So it's a lot of minor parts, a lot of teamwork. You can't do anything. You can't do anything just by yourself at all. Everything has to be the team. We're all on meetings every week. Sometimes it gets heated, you know. That's business though. That's business sometimes.
It's fun. It's somewhat fun collaboration. I mean, I think that the biggest thing that I see from not just athletes but other business owners as well is because of the commodity of the way some of these sites, and I won't mention any of them, but give you these pre-built stuff or they do stuff. People ever think, oh, so it should be cheap, when in reality it's like they spent millions and millions to make that app themselves, you know, and they're not going to do everything you want. And one of the preliminary things that you probably went through with this software company was, or even maybe even with a different company, because honestly, a lot of these companies do one thing really well. Like you have the software developers that are really good at software, but they're not as great at the user experience side. So they'll team up with the user.
Exactly.
But the wireframing, I think it's funny because I'll get a lot of, well, we're really more so on the marketing side. We'll do consultant. We'll be a consultant and do the design side and the user experience for. We have partners in the software side, but we don't focus 100% on that. But the wireframing side, like, the funny thing is you have to look at it as, hey, I can either tell you everything that I want and it will take 8 months. We'll just use an example, 8 months to do it, because there's going to be so many mistakes. We have to verbally change stuff. Or you can take 6 months to do all the discovery and figure out all of the inner workings and working together and all this talk that we're doing back and forth, and then 1 month to develop the app. You know what I mean? So it's always like you actually think you're wasting time when in reality that patience is a virtue because it actually saves you time in the long run. And now you know exactly what you're. And then the small mistakes, man, you'll see like this, even the small. And I was going to ask you this when you first said you launched on the Apple Store. I'm like, it's a pain in the butt to launch on all the platforms.
App Store Connect is a beast.
Yeah. I did a test back in the day, just so I knew how to do it and I developed a really small app and it threw one up, just because I wanted to get the inner workings of how it worked before we ever talked with clients. But with that said, congratulations! That's awesome. It's finally launched. Now it's time for you to reach the world and to help people. It's perfect timing. And so if you were to give people advice, and we kind of just did this a little bit, but if you were to give athletes advice on, it could be anything from the transition to starting a business or pushing a business, what kind of advice would you give other athletes when they start taking that journey and going outside the game?
My advice before any kind of worldly advice is see God and seek the truth, because that you'll know who you are. And in knowing who you are, you'll know how to move forward in whatever route you take in life. That's my honest suggestion for anyone is find God, find the truth, find Christ, and then that will shape your future. That'll shape everything going forward. As far as like worldly things, definitely, you have to be 100% committed to actually do what you want to do. There's want, a lot of people that want to be great and don't actually do the things, they don't actually execute. Mm-hmm. A lot of success is action. It's 10% saying it, 90% you actually have to go do it and at least try and practice trying and be okay with failing sometimes. Don't accept failure, but when you fail, it's okay. Sometimes that helps you actually. Maybe, God doesn't allow certain things to unfold for a reason, but I would say definitely you have to take steps. You have to move forward. And if you do that, you'll be successful in whatever it is. As far as the field, have you have to do the little things. Stretching, it's so weird, but stretching and sleep is the biggest success. I mean, that's how you'll be successful on the field is your sleep habits, your eating habits, the little things like stretching for sure, what you eat. Other than that, if you can be disciplined, be respectful, be mindful of people, you'll go very far. There's a lot of knuckleheads that careers, are cut short because of the mind. And if you want to make it a long time, and whether it's in the business world or football world, you have to have a very strong mind. A strong mind doesn't mean you're a headache for people. That means you know how to work with people. You know how to be respectful. You know how to be understanding. That's something we lack. And I feel like in today's world is understanding people. There's a reason why everyone does certain things or da-da-da. You have to be in that seat. You can't view yourself any different than anyone. So once you get...
And that's the hard thing, I think, with social media. Mm-hmm. Not to get too far into it, but the world is gray. There is no black and white, so kind of mm-hmm. understanding people and understanding there's multiple sides to every story.
Right.
And so I feel you on that one. And with that transition, I mean, what kind of stuff do you feel like when you were playing the game helped in your success as a business owner? Is there anything that you can relate to in those two, in the two, that you feel like, oh man, like the fact that I did this or did this, I see how that made me stronger as a business owner?
Big time. A lot of lessons I took from football are helping me be a great businessman, but definitely getting used to being consistent, whether it's waking up every day at 6 a.m. to go to weights. That kind of thing builds something in you that makes you, even I still wake up very early. It's a good habit. You build good habits in college. When you're playing football, you build good habits when you're with a team because you know how to work with everyone. There's not everyone that's on the team that you're going to like, but you're going to learn to work with them, or you'll be running a lot of gassers and a lot of goofy stuff. So it teaches you how to work with people, how to be mentally tough, like I said, handling all of that. And then being a leader too. I mean, that's one thing I've noticed is I'm more prone to call something out and just hit it on the head versus, some business people won't target certain things, but I'll just be like, okay, this doesn't look good, da-da-da-da-da, boom. And, I think it's very good for business. Honestly, it gets a lot of things done, but that's something that we've taken from football because in football, if your brother is being a goofball and not doing the right things, you call them out. And, before the coach calls you guys out. And that's that kind of relationship. You take it to the business world, people appreciate that because you don't let certain things slide. Da, 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 da. So football definitely develops a lot of good skills and habits. And yeah, that's definitely a lot of the things I've taken.
I think accountability is huge in there too, because like you said,
Oh yeah,
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 accountability.
yeah, yeah.
Well, and I have to agree with you, and I think this is something that happens very similar to what we said earlier, where you can't take things so serious in football. Business is a little bit different. You have to take a lot of things serious because a lot more.
Hmm.
I'm not going to say a lot more money's involved, but there are certain things where you could be paying for something. You learn from your but you have to realize you have to learn from your failures, and you actually learn something from that situation, or you have to. Uh, you have to kind of look at it as and you probably get this all the time too because you're an entrepreneur now. There's ups and downs in business. You'll have one day where you're like,
Hmm.
oh man, like, oh, like I'm on top of the world, everything's going great, and then the next day you'll be like, man, things aren't running smoothly, and I'm gonna quit, and I don't know,
Right.
and
Like what's going on?
yeah, what's going on? You have to kind of let yourself know, hey, this isn't going to last forever. I have to know that tomorrow I'll be fine again, or the next day, or 2 hours from now. And I think it very much relates to working out and eating well as well. I mean, because
Hmm.
you don't really there's a lot of things in business you really don't have control over,
Right.
and the one thing that I've seen in life that I do, and I mean, I have a 2-year-old right now too. So, running a
Oh, okay.
business and running, running a
Yeah.
family and all that stuff. So you kind of learn, I think having even a child helps you learn that uh, not everything's always going to be in your control and you have to live with it. But
Yeah.
doing stuff that you do have in control, like eating well and dealing with your anxiety through working out, or dealing with your mental stresses through certain activities, besides, like we said, with football, besides with playing the game or with business, will help you feel in more control of your life, which will intend to help you feel more positivity about the growth that you're kind of doing outside
Right. Right.
outside the thing. So with that said, I mean, I think that goes into the next question, which is what now that we talked about the things they can learn, what are some of the struggles that you see the athletes go through when they kind of take that step into entrepreneurship? What are some things? I mean, we don't have weaknesses. Like, what are some things that you were like, man, I wish that I kind of, learn this, or I wish I could be better at this, that you can help athletes understand a little bit so that they don't make the same mistakes that you might have.
Right. A lot of the struggles I've ran into is just you know, I'm, and I think with being a player, it's almost like all eyes on you kind of thing. So you're used to a whole different dynamic. Like you get a little help here, you get help here, whether it's tutors, da da da. In business, you almost have to show up like, and you gotta know you gotta know everything. You have to be presentable. You have to, it's not like football where I'm showing up to an interview and whatever, I can wear whatever. Business is not like that. You have to be you have to look good, show up and be presentable. Nobody's gonna help you do this. A lot of the struggles personally I've dealt with was I was I don't know if it's because just like I was saying, trying to be a leader, but I was trying to do too much. And then that overextended to because I don't know what other people know. So I learned the hard way. I needed to let people do what they need to do. And I think it's because I was trying to, I'm used to, in football, it's like you got to always play your best kind of mentality. Like you have to be the best. You have to train to be the best. You have to, nobody can beat you in workouts, da da da. So sometimes that can be very bad in business and taking that kind of mindset because people are there for a reason. you can't show up on the scene and, you know, try to take something out of everyone's cup. You know, that's not going to work out. You have to do what you do best and learn to be a team member that way. So, you know, being more selfless, you know, versus in football where you kind of have to be kind of selfish because your individual work will help the team kind of thing. But it's a lot different in not a lot, but a little different in business. And that's I would and I would say another struggle might be just you have to be patient. You know, things aren't you're not on a schedule in the business world like you are in football where you know, okay, Monday I'm gonna have weights and da da da. You'll get on a meeting and it's gonna be a whole different scenario than what you planned. Your plans change a lot. Um, so you got to be ready for that. It's a different tempo. Um, with more time comes more responsibilities too. So I would say that's the struggles.
Yeah, I think you've hit something that I've seen quite a bit, and hence why I got into this field to begin with. Was as an athlete, you tend to have to boost yourself up by saying I'm the best, even though we talked about it is about the team, you know. So
Mhm.
you have to learn in game that it's about the team, but when you're outside the game, it's the same thing. It's about, hey, I need to realize that I need to build a team of people that are good at what they do with different things. And I see a lot of athletes going out there and being like, I'm the best, I'm going to do everything myself. And or they just don't value different things, and then they end up it just doesn't turn out the way they want because
Mhm.
they don't trust the people that they're hiring. They just hire,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
So I see that struggle. So I think a big takeaway for anyone is you know, just uh, be willing to see value in other things. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Also, I forgot to mention a huge struggle, especially like I don't know if it's because of the transition, but when people know that you've played football, instantly their mind is on a different. They're looking at you, you know, in a different light, and it can be a it can be a blessing and it can be a curse too because some people only see that, oh, okay, he's a football player, so he might not be that smart or something. Like a lot of things I ran into was I would show people my business plan. I'll be like, hey, this is my business plan, da da da, let's talk about it. And the first thing they would say is, you wrote this? I'm
Wow.
like, yeah, it's like, what do you mean I wrote this? Yeah, of course. My name is on, you know, it was almost like disrespectful because, you know, in the way people view athletes or some athletes as like, oh, you know, he plays football, so he might not be that smart kind of thing. And I was like, I think it was a good thing though, because I showed a lot of people, no, like, you can play football and be smart. Like
Hmm.
you have to graduate. You have to have some kind of knowledge to graduate. So that was a struggle right there, was just running into stuff like that. Like, you know, you and to all athletes out there, go hard in school, go hard and learn things, like actually learn. Knowledge is way more than what your physical body can do. People are getting paid from their with their mind, not
Yeah. Yeah.
still lifting rocks and, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know. So build your mind.
I mean, people still get paid to do that, but those are the people that I think
Right.
that, you know, that unfortunately just don't build their minds. But but
Yeah.
but no, I 100% agree with you. So as you've been building this business out, and you kind of, like I said, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but what are some of the what are some of the things athletes can learn when they're building their brands, from other athletes like yourself? So what can other athletes learn as they start to build their business slash brands?
Um, Definitely um, take notes on how people present themselves. I'm just saying what I look from other people and why I see they're successful is the way you brand yourself. You know, wherever you go, your brand is with you. I mean, who you are, people, if they see you being disrespectful out somewhere, that's your brand. Even if it's those number of people, they're telling people, and then social media will blow that up. So your brand is very important, like very, very important. It's important to build it now as early as possible. Um, it all goes with when I see other people, I see how even they interact with people online, the stuff they're posting, um, you know, what they believe in. A lot of that is a part of your brand that will attract certain people to you, to follow you, to, you know, want to be a part of what you're doing. So always stay true to that and don't be fake. Don't, it's not like, oh, I'm a, you know, I'm not a good person, but I'm gonna act like I'm a good person. No, people will, all that will always be exposed quick. So actually work on trying to be a good person. And just like when you watch film, you take things from other people's games and you apply it to yourself. It's the same way. So when you're seeing all these people signing big deals and da da da, and then when you go to their page and you see what they're doing, and then when you see the links, you know, when you click on the link on their page, you can see, oh, he's into the community. He actually is engaged in the community. He's engaged with people. You know, people like that. Maybe I should be engaged with people. You
Mhm.
take that, add it to you. Some people are good with you know, posting certain things that people like, or you know, certain material, whether it's having fans, you know, join. You know, TikTok has brought so much. uh TikTok has almost amplified your brand, so people just post workout stuff, simple stuff they're doing, and you know, you get a certain following. So you know, be smart, be very strategic in building your brand, and be as consistent as possible. And
Yeah,
that's
and that's
yeah.
actually funny you said that because we talk a lot about that on our YouTube channel all the time, like
Oh
consistency,
yeah.
because
Yeah, yeah.
consistency matters in so many different aspects. It's not just your mentality, it's the way you write, it's your visuals, it's your
Hmm.
it's everything moving forward. And fan base, I think that's what you were touching on was hey, you're gonna have a unique fan type that's going to come to you, and this is getting a little more geeky on the marketing side, but you're going to have a
Hmm.
certain fan base. And if sponsorships are one of your situations that you're trying to promote, not even that, if you're trying to build a fan base around the business that you're trying to grow, you're going to want to have a certain following. So it doesn't really matter if you have 1 million, 2 million, 3 million followers, even 100,000. If you have 100,000 followers and 98% of those followers are your targeted fan base, you're going to have a much better conversion slash ROI than you would with, I've seen companies with fake followers. I won't mention any of their names, but with
uh
large companies with fake followers, and you just use that as an example when athletes ask me, well, what happens if I just buy followers? I'm like, it's not about your follower account. It's about
right, right.
how many relationships you can build and how much advice and influence you can build on someone. And at the end of the day, if you're doing it correctly, then they will want to buy, and you can leverage that brand to have people purchase things without or help you grow with what you're trying to grow with without just trying to make them feel like they're making it,
Yeah.
you know.
Look the part. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
um
You're very right.
so again, I really want to thank you for jumping on. Why don't you
Thank
tell
you.
everyone where they can find you, a little bit about your app, and yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna actually write it down. I'll just write out, I guess, my Twitter. But yeah, about the app, I'll definitely talk about that. Is it's called Groove Club, Groov Club. And again, it brings all services of all kinds to the home. Right now, we're in the process of onboarding businesses and service providers of all kinds. So if you know your barber or hairstylist or whoever, tell them to join on there. And, this allows businesses to hire more employees that can now go out and execute these services, get back on their feet, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what we're bringing. And then Samaritan Solar, again, residential and commercial solar. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm sorry, right there. Is that backwards?
No, you got it. You got it. I got it.
All right, cool. So, that's my Instagram. I'm not that huge on social media, but, if anyone wants to reach me that way, I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I actually use LinkedIn more than social media.
Yeah.
So
I talk to a lot of athletes about that. Is LinkedIn's a great place to go. To do this stuff. So thanks. I'll throw these all up in at the end too, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about that. I'll take that when you already sent me over some images. So when we're done with our call, you're definitely more than welcome to send me over some of that stuff, and I'll throw them into when it goes live. But again, I want to thank you for being on the Brand Power Analysis, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity.
No problem.